Hello, my name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to this new edition of Business Africa, your magazine dedicated to the continent's business and economic news. As usual, you can win $150 in our Business Africa game. More details later, but first, today's top stories. In Cameroon, whole regions have embarked on rice production, objective to gain ground on imports.
Le Minader s'est donc engagé dans un programme.
The ministry, Minada, has undertaken a program to diversify rice production in accordance with the various agroecological zones.
Agroécologique.
Focused on the local customers and capture the informal population, African insurers are fighting to increase their market share.
Market penetration in our countries is still very low, at 1 to 2%. There is plenty of scope for insurance, with a lot of property and goods still not covered.
Architects, town planners or technicians, they are the future of Rwanda. Talents ready to take over for the modernization of the country.
It is going to produce the students the employees who are capable, who have the knowledge to go and contribute to the development of the country.
We open this edition with the rice debate, a commodity very popular in many African countries but often imported. About 10 years ago, Cameroon, which imports up to 800,000 tons per year, started to set up a local production. But Cameroonian rice is significantly more expensive and continues to face competition from imports. Our journalist on site, Abubakar Munchili, tells us more.
Before too long, Cameroon will no longer depend on rice imports to satisfy domestic demand. After years of economic crisis, the country has decided to boost its rice production sector.
Le Minader s'est donc engagé dans un programme.
The ministry, Minada, has undertaken a program to diversify rice production in accordance with the various agroecological zones.
Agroécologique.
Minader is the acronym for the Cameroonian ministry responsible for agriculture and rural development. Since 2010, Cameroon has been actively encouraging rice cultivation, with Yaoundé making rice's rise a key part of its agricultural policy. Consumers in Cameroon are getting the message loud and clear.
This rice comes from DOP. It's just like the rice they call today perfume rice, which is very expensive. This one is even cheaper, but better than the perfume rice. And I know that's why you see me buy these 2 packets for my family.
Across the country, test markets to promote Cameroon-made rice are springing up. This one in the capital, Yaoundé.
The rice is better quality, but costs a bit more. I've got around 1 kilo here. That's about $1 worth. But it is better quality and even tastes good without sauce. Just needs a bit of cooking oil.
In Cameroon, as in many other countries south of the Sahara, rice is a staple part of the daily diet. Annual national demand has been estimated at around 600,000 tons. But supply is a mere 175,000 tons. Initiatives and incentives have been launched nationwide to boost domestic rice production.
We have implemented a number of training courses for rice producers. I think there are clear signs that they are effective.
The nationwide program, backed by the technical and financial partners, aims to produce approximately 650,000 tons a year by 2018.
The project started just over 3 years ago. The objective is to increase output and to give farmers advice so they can produce more.
Some regions are already making a name for themselves as rice producers and are attracting more and more small-holding and large-scale farmers. Rice production in the northwest centers around Ndop, Semri Rice in the north, and the Mont Mbebit Rural Development Project in the west.
Nous avons une potentialité de près de 800 hectares.
Potentially, we have 800 hectares of tidal flats we can use each year. Hybrid varieties such as Nerica 56 adapt very well to conditions in the Noon area and can produce up to 6 or 7 tons a hectare. We are looking at a possible harvest of 4,000 each year.
Potential for greater output of other locally grown produce is enormous in these regions. However, the emphasis is on rice production to ensure a reliable food supply for Cameroon's citizens.
Maintenant, la population est engagée à la production de riz.
Now people are mobilized to produce rice, but producers need to be better organized.
C'est-à-dire l'organisation des producteurs.
The main problem is to make sure rice is processed so it can be marketed properly.
Et pour que le riz soit commercialisé, il faudra que le riz soit transformé. Ça veut dire
And for that to happen, the state needs to install processing plants
qui permettent à ce que le riz produit soit transformé.
With a productive rice sector, Cameroon could make huge savings. With $255 million spent each year importing rice, there is clearly the incentive to invest in processing.
We are working on producing more seeds, both for rain-fed rice and irrigated paddy crops. Another aspect we are working on is the acquisition of a rice huller to remove the husks in areas that haven't got processing facilities yet.
Once processing is established and in compliance with international standards, Cameroon may well be exporting to its neighbor Nigeria. The African giant is one of the biggest rice importers.
"2020 could be the year of cannabis breakthrough in Africa after Malawi in February. Zimbabwe has in turn legalized the cultivation in the form of licenses, which will be granted to farmers, traders and researchers. Several other countries in the region have already partially legalized the plant, such as Lesotho, Zambia or South Africa. The city of Cape Town is even considering becoming a center for the production of medical cannabis. Niger, Côte d'Ivoire, Guinea, Burkina Faso and Ghana. No less than 5 presidential elections will be held in the sub-region by the end of the year. The first polls concern Guinea and Côte d'Ivoire this month. These elections will take place in a tense security context in several countries. Matthias Humke, administrator of the Political Governance and Democratic Consolidation Program at the Open Society Initiative, agreed to answer to my questions. Matthias Humke, thank you for joining me on Business Africa. What progress have you seen in the organization of elections in recent years?
Les organes qui sont en charge de la gestion des élections sont
The bodies in charge of organizing the elections are more prepared now and have developed the skills over time to manage the electoral process in a reasonable way. It is increasingly difficult to cheat on election day or to manipulate the election results. You may remember a few years ago it was ballot boxes being stuffed on election day or the purchase of votes near the polling stations and that sort of thing. I believe that we have less and less of these kinds of attempts at manipulation or cheating on polling day, and that is a huge progress.
The financial aspect is rarely mentioned, yet an election is expensive. How do countries approach this investment, and is expenditure management well controlled?
Lorsque vous comparez les indicateurs qui existent pour mesurer, par exemple,
when you compare the indicators that exist, for example, to measure the average cost of elections per person, I think in Africa you have the highest costs.
3 facteurs au moins qui expliquent les coûts. Le premier, auquel les gens ne pensent pas souvent,
these are the set of measures that must be taken to win the stakeholder confidence in the electoral process.
Gagner la confiance des acteurs dans le processus électoral. Ce sont ces mesures qui appellent, par exemple, le recours à la biométrie.
It's actually these measures which call for the use of biometrics, for example. These are investments that cost billions in CFA francs. This is what leads, for example, to the obligation for these countries to go and order electoral material, whether it's documents or ballots. All of these are ordered from abroad because we're afraid that by having them printed locally, there might be cheating, and that could help one side or another. These security measures are what costs the most for elections in our countries.
Securing the electoral process remains a concern. Do the measures taken seem adequate to you?
On a quand même des pays particuliers qui ont des problèmes d'ordre.
We still have some countries that suffer from violent extremism, such as Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Nigeria. These are countries that therefore make it difficult to secure the areas where the violence takes place, and therefore what the countries are doing is finding a way to organize elections on territories where they are able to guarantee security.
Ce que les pays font jusque-là, c'est trouver un moyen pour organiser des élections sur
It's been happening in Mali since 2013, and now for the first time in Burkina. They are compelled to organize elections in just some parts of the country. Having said that, you have cases like Ghana, which, despite being one of the most peaceful countries, you still have groups that are associated with political parties that stir up trouble during the elections. But the groups that make trouble, you have them in several countries, and the security forces have developed over time ways to control them. So I think that in general, we have no security problems during the elections, if we leave aside the countries, like I said, that are still dealing with violent extremism.
Thank you, Matthias Humke. Only 3%. This is the still very low penetration rate of the insurance market in Africa. The first obstacle to development is, of course, the considerable share of the informal sector in economic activity. But African insurers intend to reverse the trend by relying on their in-depth knowledge of the local field. Take a look.
Since African nations started gaining their independence in the 60s, the insurance market has taken off. According to the FANAF, the Federation of African National Insurance Companies, founded in 1976, there are now 20 times as many insurance companies, 8,000 employees, and turnover has leapt from $26 million to $700 million.
Our countries had agencies, subsidiaries of major French groups. Now most of them have become national companies with their capital and headquarters based here. I think the FANAF has done a lot to encourage that.
FANAF is indeed the main reason why African insurers have risen to prominence. The Africanization of the continent's insurance companies has seen African executives gradually making their mark in major European companies inherited from the colonial period. In the beginning, it was essential to be able to mobilize capital to finance fledgling African economies.
The brains behind the FANAF project were Senegalese, Ivorian, Gabonese and Congolese nationals who are running national insurance companies. These people were getting little or no support from outside their respective countries. They realized that strength lay in unity, and that together they would be a force to be reckoned with.
Their strategy has paid off, but there's still a lot to be done. It is estimated that half of Africa's working population has no insurance.
Market penetration in our countries is still very low, at 1 to 2%. There is plenty of scope for insurance, with a lot of property and goods still not covered.
For over 40 years, the FANAF has been working with its members to develop a sector in upheaval and lobbying lawmakers to change legislation. In the 1980s, the Professional Association called for an African approach to compensation for personal injuries, for health-related issues, and for victims of road traffic accidents. Member nations also passed laws to make sure rates were better adapted to an insuree's ability to pay.
We will need to attract a lot of savings if we are to have any impact on funding African economies and to make sure the continent does not depend on the World Bank or the IMF or the West to finance its projects. I'm confident that given the right fiscal framework, the African insurance sector will be able to build capital that can be put to use, financing the kind of projects that will make Africa an emerging continent.
The vast potential that lies in as yet uninsured areas is a mouth-watering prospect for the major international groups who see a territory ripe for the picking. To face up to these new challenges, the African insurance sector is reinventing itself and proposing new types of products. The ICT sector is particularly enticing.
One product in particular can be marketed digitally, starting with computers and then on to mobile phones and tablets. The possibilities are almost endless, both in terms of supply and demand. Our clients are increasingly demanding, and there is no time to waste.
Is there an African nation that doesn't dream of emerging nation status? Major infrastructure projects have been launched across the continent, and growth centers are being developed. This growth goes hand in hand with insurance, but the insurers will need a solid foundation to provide complete insurance coverage. Without the right guarantees from African insurers, the continent's builders will look elsewhere to protect their investments.
People have to stick to the rules. I have nothing against certain companies getting involved in Africa's infrastructure development, but some are bending the rules and are not covered properly.
After playing their part in the Africanization of insurance in the post-independence period, the continent's insurers must now beat tough competition from major international companies. With their intimate knowledge of the situation on the continent, Africa's insurers have an ace up their sleeve. Extending insurance coverage to provide protection for rural populations and their harvests, and underwriting the modernization of agriculture could be a game changer.
You on Business Africa, welcome back to the second part of our show. This week, Zambia will ask its private creditors to suspend repayment of its sovereign debt until next April. It is the first African country since the start of the pandemic to report a default. The main reasons: declining income and the surge in spending due to COVID. 3 Eurobonds for a total of $3 billion are concerned. A victory for African traditional medicine. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has approved a protocol for phase 3 clinical trials of herbal medicine for COVID-19. This opens the way for supervised clinical trials for treatments against COVID-19 based on medicinal plants, which have recently multiplied in Africa, the best known being the Malagasy drug COVID Organics. You've probably heard of this new African music sport based on Zulu prayer and above all positive energy that is energizing everyone around the world. I'm of course talking about Jerusalema, the track by Zimbabwean musician Master KG in duet with South African artist Nomchebo Zikodi. They have just broken the record of 150 million YouTube views, while totaling more than 60 million clicks on Spotify. And it's literally making everyone dance in every country, from politicians to caregivers to clergies. Take a look. We end our tour of the continent in Rwanda, a country that has often received praise for its economic success. Education is particularly favored by the government, who wants to see the talents of tomorrow emerge. How is this youth, both promising and studious, being educated? This is what Lauren Rimondi discovered in Kigali. Here's the rest of the story.
In Rwanda last year, the Institute of Science and Technology of Rwanda, formerly the Kigali Institute of Science and Technology, granted diplomas to a special class. 18 out of 190 female scholarship students in a skills development project in science and technology received their diplomas. Like Solange and Jennifer, who received scholarships to complete their master. Supported by AFDB, the African Development Bank, the Institute promotes women's access to the scientific and technical programs.
It is so important because if you can compare about the percentage of population in Rwanda, many are women. But if you go to higher learning institutions, colleges, there are few girls who join the higher learning institutions.
Her parents, of whom she is the pride and joy, own a hardware store on the outskirts of the capital. Aware of her luck, the young woman wants to participate in the construction of Rwanda.
The first motivation, I'd like to become among the great lady, a great woman.
For his part, Kenneth is working on the use of recycled materials in architecture. He's presenting his project to his teachers. His ambition is to speed up the construction of buildings in his country, which is struggling to find the necessary materials.
I see it as a challenge, if we are a developing country and we have little economy to afford these materials which can be used for fancy buildings, how in other way can an architect explore local and available materials and using little technology but offer the space which is having quality and functional and sustainable for the community.
Architects, urban planners and technicians represent the future reconstruction of Rwanda. The government encourages the courses to continue the modernization of the country. A grant of $9 million from the AFDB has funded educational material, facilities and classes.
It is going to produce the students the employees who are capable, who have the knowledge to go and contribute to the development of the country.
There's another area of expertise that's being developed within the framework of the strategic plan of the country: information and communication technology. In downtown Kigali, the Carnegie Mellon University, or CMU, is home to one of 5 African centers of excellence in the ICT field. On the top floor, this business startup, called the Key Lab, aims to strengthen ties between the university courses and industry. Meanwhile, a future campus is under construction and will be completed in 2016, with funding of nearly $15 million from the AFDB.
So the partnership of ADB is very key into this program because, as you know, yes, we can have great brands, we can have everything, but also we need the infrastructures to support the university.
Thanks to a grant awarded under the program, Rafiki is one of the first group of students to attend the Masters in Information and Communication Technology course, which began in 2012. He runs a company and has been able to profit from his studies.
After taking courses at CMU, we have changed the business model. Now we develop solutions and we go present them to our client.
According to Rafiki, it will soon no longer be necessary to turn to India, Europe or the United States to develop digital solutions.
So we'll be boosting the ICT sector in this region, and economically we can be a hub of ICT, not only in Africa, maybe also in the world.
With its regional focus, the program welcomes students from East Africa, such as Lynn from Uganda. She would like the scholarships made available to other countries.
What I would like to see is more people partnering with CMU because of the fees. The fees are a bit much for Africans outside Rwanda, because Rwanda offers a scholarship for Rwandese and then a 50% for the rest of us. So if more people came together and partnered with what CMU is doing here in Africa, then a lot more students would have an opportunity to get this kind of quality education.
When the centre is completed, nearly 1,200 high-level jobs will be created in information and communication technology, a sector expected to accelerate the growth in Rwanda by improving its competitiveness and with a direct impact on poverty.
It's now time to reward our loyal viewers of Business Africa. It's up to you to answer to the following questions. If you're drawn among those who have given the correct answers, you will win $150. This is game number 535. So listen carefully to the two questions that follow, and good luck. First question. When was FANF, or AIO, the African Insurance Organization under national law, created? In 1976, in 1983, or in 2006? Second question. What is the incubator of Carnegie Mellon University, CMU, in Kigali called? The Kigali Incubator, the Kigali Laboratory, the Key Lab? You know the answers. You can participate now by going to our Facebook page. Answer the questions, fill out your form, and good luck. And of course, don't forget to include your contact details, name, address, telephone, email, and the number of the game you are entering with the answers, of course. This game, for example, is game number 535. The winner will receive $150 as our winner this week. Congratulations, you gave the correct answers to our game number 528. Here are the details. First question. Who is Africa's #1 producer in cut flowers? The answer, Kenya. Second question. How much honey does Burkina Faso produce per year? Answer, 500 tons. That's it. Business Africa is over for today. I'll see you next week, same time, same channel with Initiative Africa. We will speak to eco-activist Ophia Drory in Nairobi for a dizzying dive into the circuits of international crime behind wildlife trafficking. In the meantime, you can catch this program on our Facebook, Vimeo and YouTube channels, and feel free to share, like and comment using the hashtag Business Africa TV show on our Twitter account @AfricaShows. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Goodbye.